life.
All right. Live on a Wednesday.
Have you noticed that
Well, the weather actually, it didn't allow me to go to Crookston, so I'm in Alexandria. So no.
Oh, they didn't let you? They told
Well,
you you're not
I
allowed?
did not cancel. I was crazy enough even with this weather to drive, but the hospital canceled all stuff, so I didn't have a choice. So
Normal people would take that opportunity to take the day off and probably take a nap or sleep or something, but I know that's not what you're doing.
Well, taking a nap. I actually slept today longer than almost for years.
How late did you sleep?
I did go to bed around 2 a.m., but no, I woke up around, I woke up at 6, and then I said, no, I'm going to back to bed. And I woke up at 7 and I slept until 8:30.
Wow.
No, well, I never sleep that long.
I am in shock. Like,
Yeah.
even with you going to bed at 2 a.m., I am in shock at the fact that I was awake before you were today.
Yes.
I'm
I was
feeling proud of
at work before he was even awake
Oh,
today.
I'm feeling
I
proud of
was-
both of you.
Yeah, but you know what I noticed? I woke up at 6, and from 6 to 8:30, you know what I noticed? I dreamed a lot. I mean, dreams that they were really realistic.
Mhm.
Yeah, like what?
I dreamed that I build a house, and in the bathroom, my son kicks the wall, and the things are falling, and then the ground, the floor is not it's uneven, and I have to fix it. And I'm so angry with my son that he's so careless and so on. And I'm thinking, I really hope it's a dream. I really hope it's a dream. And then I was in a twilight zone. I'm not sure if you have noticed that, in a twilight zone, that in a way I know it's a dream, but I'm a little doubting it if it's a dream or not. Then I get angry. I say, if it's not a dream, I have to go and fix it. And then
I'm with you on that, though. I don't typically dream when I sleep at night, but if I take a nap, that's when I will have the opportunities to sometimes get some sort of dreams.
That's interesting.
I want to challenge that. Everybody dreams all the time. We just don't remember it. And they have done those studies. And but let me tell you something more crazy. I'm not sure if it happens to everybody, but have you seen the movie Inception?
I've heard of it.
I don't know if I've seen it. I don't think so.
In that dream, in that movie, literally, they control people's dream, and they can manipulate people, and they can manipulate their environment in the dream. And that truly happens, that sometimes in my dream, I can make myself fly. And then when I'm about to wake up, I cannot fly anymore. And I'm angry. What's going on? Why can I not? That's what they do in the Inception. But it is something else. In the Inception, they go sleep. Every time that you go sleep, the time is 7 times longer. Like, 1 minute in your real life is 7 minutes or 10 minutes in a dream. But in the dream, they go sleep in the dream, and then they continue. Then, meaning that when they go in sleep in a dream, then every minute in their dream is 10 minutes in the second layer of dream. So 1 real minute is like 100 minutes in the second layer of dream.
Okay.
I have gone sleep in my dream, and I've woken up in my dream, and I was so upset that what I was seeing was real, not knowing that this was my second layer of dream. Has ever something like that crazy happened to you?
That used to be one of my biggest fears as a child, is that, like, I don't know, when I was a child, I really had a lot of weird emotions attached to dreams. And I used to be afraid that I was going to be dreaming and then wake up from my dream. But like, my whole life was my dream, basically.
Yeah. So why do we dream?
Well, there's a few theories why we dream. One of my favorite theories that I learned in psychology when I was like 16, and it's always stuck with me, is that one of the theories for why we dream is like it's our ancestors' memories, basically. And it's kind of a way for us to learn about the world and know what we need to avoid and what is safe.
very esoteric, very transcendental. Alyssa, what do you think? Why do we dream?
I guess in my head, I know that our brain never fully shuts down, even when we're sleeping. So I guess the way I think of it is like when our brain goes to rest, even though our eyes, we go through what we call REM, rapid eye movement. But I feel like it's just kind of like our brain continues the reality, the subconscious, even though your eyes are closed. It's like you never really sleep.
Yeah, there's that other theory that you're dreaming so you can dissect your day and kind of shut down things that happen during the day, but nobody really knows why we dream, right?
Bossy knows why we dream.
So let's start with sleep. The podcast is about science of sleep, and it is Amanda, you choose the name, science of sleep, not feeling or esoteric side of the sleep, the science of the sleep. What does science say about sleep? Why do we need sleep?
To recover. We need sleep to recover.
That's a good, basic umbrella thing. I think.
Yeah. And practically every living organism goes through the phase of more activity and less activity. And you're right, activity never stops, Alyssa. Our brain never really stops. But we go through this higher activity level and lower activity level. Every one cell organism goes through that. As a matter of fact, before the cell mitotic activity, which is very busy time for a cell, they go through a phase of low activity, reserve resources, and so on. Every animal sleeps in one way or another, high activity, low activity. In most of the vertebrate, this is a distinct phenomenon. Sleeping is a distinct phenomenon, meaning that we reduce amount of the reaction we can or we will produce to outside stimuli. But what is the main characteristic of sleep in human, Amanda? I mean, how do you know your brother is sleeping or just laying down and relaxing? What's the difference?
Well, there's different stages of sleep. I think the answer that you're looking for is eye movement.
No, I'm talking about very trivial. I mean, the common sense kind of thing. How do you know your brother on your couch is not just closing the eye and relaxing versus actually sleeping? What is the characteristic of that?
You tell me what the characteristic of
I guess
that is, because I know you're looking for a very specific answer.
No, I am not actually.
I think when I break it down, if I was looking and I was like, oh, is Amanda sleeping or is she, just laying there? First thing I look for is breathing. You see a lot of different changes in breathing. It becomes, you don't breathe as often, the more deep. I always looked for that, the little snoring, the little
snoring,
the signs. But my first thought always comes to breathing when I'm looking for whether people are awake or not.
Steady breathing.
Yeah, our breathing has a certain pattern, but I'm mostly talking about our level of awareness in our brain. Like, Amanda, right now, you're looking at me and you're waiting for me giving you an external stimuli, and then you get it, you process it, and you react to that. In the difference between awakeness is a medical term, and not awakeness is that you're not actively looking for stimuli, and you practically dismiss lots of low stimuli. Obviously, you're not dead. If I start shaking you or yelling at you, you will wake up, but you're not in a sleep situation. You are not actively looking or filtering through the stimuli, and I have to break a through barrier to get through your to your sensory system. I have to shake you, I have to yell at you, I have to do something more than you just talk to you. Okay, now, and that is actually our awakeness is a function of our cerebrum, our both hemisphere. And believe it or not, we can be awake with only one hemisphere. We can be awake and alert with one hemisphere. But like there is a test that I used to do to see which side of the brain is dominant, is that we go with a catheter inside. We have two sides of our brain are supported by two different group of vessels, arteries. Do you know what those arteries are, Alyssa?
Well, it starts with the carotids. That's where you were going up the internal.
Carotid, yeah. Then you carotid, go external carotid, internal carotid. External carotid is mostly face. Internal carotid is mostly the going to the brain. But then we have the vertebral. But let's talk about the carotid. Each carotid goes to the brain and the innervate. Gives supply to that side of the brain, and then but they meet in the middle. There's
Circle of Willis.
Circle of Willis, the anterior communicating artery,
right,
which is literally get the blood from one side to other side. There is a test that where we put anesthetic, barbiturate, or anything else through a catheter inside of the carotid artery, and then if we want to see if the blood goes from one artery to another, or other way, because every person is different. Sometimes the blood from one carotid goes to the circle of Willis, goes from right to left. For some people, goes from left to right. That has a huge meaning on actually, if you want to clip an aneurysm, if you want to prevent the circulation, to do a vascular surgery, that has a huge meaning there. So this is called Waddell test. We go with a catheter, we put some anesthetic in one carotid, and then, first of all, contrast can see if it goes back and forth. But then, if you want to as well see for the same test, if you want to see if the blood goes across, we just put contrast. But sometimes as well, we want to know which hemisphere of your brain is dominant. Can you describe what the dominant hemisphere means, Alyssa, in the anatomy?
I guess in my head, I don't know the actual definition, but dominant would be one that would have more, not even power, but would put forth more effort than the other side.
Yeah, for certain things. For
Sure.
like, are you right-handed or left-handed, Amanda?
I'm right-handed.
And the left side of your brain is controlling your right side, so you are a left hemispheric dominant. And we know that if you're right-handed, as well, almost 99.999% as well, the left side of the brain, which controls your right side, as well is responsible for your language.
So what does that mean? Like, what's the importance of being right or left side dominant?
Oh, there's not really dominant. It's sometime in the nature, our evolution, our brain decided to put some function on the right, some function on the left. But if you use your right hand for writing, your language is on your left side of your brain, which controls the right side of your body.
Okay.
Now, imagine in this test that we are talking, we are trying to find out, because if you have a tumor, you want to know how aggressive you can be. What we can do is, if it's not the dominant hemisphere, we can be more aggressive. And so for some people, it's not on the same side and so on. So what I want to tell you here, that when I do that test, that to put the side that I think is dominant to sleep, or the side that the tumor is, I want to put it sleep to see if patient quit talking. We ask the patient to talk. And then if I put the anesthetic in that side of the brain, through the artery, they all of a sudden, they start mumbling and they cannot talk. Then I know that side is the dominant side. Then I know they cannot, I cannot be too aggressive to take that tumor out there. But that's not what I want to talk about, actually. This is all the foreplay to tell you sometimes that anesthetic goes from one side of the brain to the other side. Once the anesthetic goes from one side of the brain to the other side, they go to anesthetic. They practically become unresponsive. So one side of the brain is still enough for you to be awake and react to stimuli, but if I depress the activity on both hemispheres, you go to sleep. The same way that if people have seizure, if seizure is only on one side of the brain, they jerk, but still they are awake, they react to stimuli. But once the seizure activity crosses the midline, they actually become unresponsive, and literally they lose their awake and alertness. So our awakeness is a function of our brain, hemispheric brain, and one half is enough for us to be awake and alert. Now, would that surprise you for me to tell you some animals, they sleep only one half of the hemisphere at a time?
No, that doesn't surprise me.
Do you know what animals they are?
Dolphins.
Excellent, excellent. Obviously, if they completely fall asleep, they drown. There are some other animals as well that sleep one half of the brain at a time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said if the dolphin were to shut down its brain at the same time, it would drown.
Yeah.
Is it because they can't? How long can they stay underwater? I mean, I know they have a blowhole, but
Yeah.
to me, I guess I was like, dolphins drown if
Yeah,
they
they're
sleep
mammals.
for longer.
They're
than
mammals.
others.
They're
Yeah.
mammals. They breathe like us.
Huh. I mean, I guess I knew that, but
You just never
my
really thought of
head,
it.
I guess I never thought about how dolphins sleep and the fact that they would have to get air.
Yeah, I mean, even
But
sharks
active
sleep awake too.
See, for the dolphin, breathing is an active process. We breathe active or passive, because no matter where we are,
we're going to breathe.
We're going to breathe. For dolphin, they have to go to the surface in a certain way and then get some air and so on. So they sleep one half of the brain at a time. There are other animals that sleep one half of the brain at the time, and that is actually, I think, amazing. Have you seen a flock of ducks?
I have.
In the night, this flock of ducks, those in the middle, both sides of the brain sleep. Those on the periphery, the side of the brain that has controlled the eye, that look outside, does not sleep. And then they change. That's amazing how, but either way, every living thing goes through a phase of episode that you do not react to usual, you are not looking and don't react to usual stimuli.
And so why is sleep important?
Well, what's your theory on that?
Well, I know that there's been times when I haven't gotten good sleep and I could not think straight really at all. I know I made a lot of mistakes during the day. I was super irritable.
Oh, you're super irritable.
I'm definitely with her on that. When I do not get enough sleep, I don't even notice, but people notice.
Yeah,
that
people around
my
you.
fuse is just a little bit shorter.
You don't even notice it on yourself?
Not all the time. Not all the time.
Yeah, but I like where you are going. You're scientifically doing. If you ask what's something good for, take it away and see what happens. So what happens after you don't sleep one night? What happens?
Well, I usually wake up with a headache that caffeine can't cure.
Okay, so you get headache when you don't sleep. What else? What's the longest you haven't slept?
For me, after about, I've done an all-nighter, about 24 hours, I start to get the opposite side effects of sleep deprivation, where I start to get a little hyper.
Manic,
Good.
Or oh, I don't need sleep. I feel like I could go another 24 hours.
Yeah, like a second wind.
Yeah. Or a seventh wind.
Yeah.
There's a physiologic response there. We will come back to that. That definitely is that exists. Once you pass over certain phase, then your body is actually in the fight and flight response. Your body is stressed out beyond belief. Your body thinks you're going to die. So it pumps you with catecholamines and you get the boost. But then, let's say 24 hours, that's the longest you have not slept?
I would say probably no more than 36 hours is probably my
Yeah,
max.
I
I've done
think
a
that's
full
my
day
max.
and then probably another awake
Mhm.
daytime hours.
How
But
did
I
you
think that's
feel
it.
at the end of that time?
I remember being like not as tired as I thought I was going to be. Like I figured I'd be like dead tired, but then as soon as I hit the pillow, I'm pretty sure I was out.
Yeah,
like,
good for
solid.
you. I remember crying. My face was flushed. Actually, it happened to me pretty recently. I was up for almost 24 hours and then I got 2 hours of sleep. Then I had a flight the next day. I was so irritable and I just really had to hold it in. And the night before, I was on the phone with my airlines, like, because I was having an issue with the airline. I was like crying, like, I'm having sleep deprivation. You need to solve this problem now, or I'm gonna call my credit card. I'm gonna get a complete refund after my flight. Like, I become super emotional and extreme.
Have you heard of sleep deprivation as a torture?
Yes.
I guess I haven't, but
There's a
Can
lot
do
of
it.
like sensory and sleep deprivation type tortures. Yeah.
well,
But
we
let's
know
talk about the sleep. What literally what happens if you remember in the sleep, you don't react to stimuli outside.
I think you start hallucinating if you're too sleep deprived.
It
absolutely.
is a little more than hallucination. It is a different mechanism than hallucination. So how do you know I'm real, Amanda, right now? How do you know I'm real? I'm not. How do you know I'm not in your head?
Because Alyssa's here.
Alyssa
Like
could be
yourself.
unreal too. Alyssa could be unreal too.
Well, I guess I know that you're real because of stimuli. I had to text you to tell you we have our podcast. And
You
stuff.
deduct it from different things that
Yeah.
this conversation is real. Now, think of a red bicycle in your head. Is that red bicycle real?
No.
I mean, it is real somewhere.
No. Is that red bicycle? Can you go and ride that red bicycle?
No.
Okay. So there's a point when you sleep deprived people, they cannot distinguish between that red bicycle's image in your brain because I and that red bicycle, we are both just an image in your brain. That's all what we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a point if you sleep deprived people, they cannot distinguish in the reality of me versus that red bicycle. Your brain cannot deduct anymore from available data that the red bicycle is not real and I'm real. So when they sleep deprived people, they put them in a zone that they think they are dreaming where it's real, and they think it's real when they are dreaming. And when they think they're talking to the friends, they're talking to the person who want to extract the information from them, it's like a truth serum. All of them work by reducing the effect of our frontal lobes on our deduction of the reality, of the perception of reality. And there is so-called, we behave like we are schizophrenic. You know what the characteristic of the schizophrenia is? That you cannot understand or really things that are not real appear real to you. You see the similarity?
Mm-hmm.
In certain situation, based on actually how your brain is perceiving the stimuli, it has to decide, was it a thought or was it a real? Was it a rope or was it a snake? Was it a dream or was it real? Now, if you always react wrongly, you're using a lot of resources and possibly you're putting yourself at the danger. So naturally in evolution, it's important to you to separate those elements, and use available information to say that is real and that's not real. So, and in schizophrenia, we lose to a certain point that ability to say that we see things that are not there in our head. And if you sleep deprive anybody after a certain point, they have symptoms that are almost schizophrenic, meaning that they behave like somebody who has schizophrenia.
At what point do these symptoms start later on?
Different for every person. That is why the threshold, that's why some people are more prone to that. Now, this ability to be able to understand and deduct the reality from our thoughts and dreams, that is not a yes or no. It's a spectrum to that. And you have, I'm sure you have met people in your life that are more stable than people who are less stable. People who are more rational and people who are less rational. It just happened to be that more rational people, they can go through life longer sleep deprivation before they have the symptoms. And if somebody's already irrational, I know few people in your friends, Amanda, that I think they're already at the border of being rational. But if you put them at the sleep deprivation, they present the symptoms so much faster and so much. Like for some people, not having afternoon nap is enough to put them over the threshold. For some people, is a day or two, but everybody, almost everybody, after 3 days of sleep deprivation, they literally become psychotic. And it's if you truly, it's really hard to do that. But if you truly sleep deprive people for 4 to 5 days, people die.
I guess I'm curious as to, we say sleep deprivation, based on, the lack of sleep. So for example, like Easter's coming up and I don't think I'll be getting less sleep per se, but I will definitely be doing more stuff, being around more people, weighing on me in general, that I know I'm going to require more sleep than I normally would. Not that I'm more tired or this or that, but I know my social battery, my, irritability will start popping up later at night. And I know that it's like, if I went to sleep, I'd be fine. Or, just little things like that. So I kind of wonder, like, is it the lack of sleep, or is it, the output plus, I know that everything's multifactorial, but I wasn't quite sure how much of that was, sleep, or, everything else.
So, but that's they go hand in hand. See, if you have a pickup truck, you can carry more stuff than if you have a small bicycle. And your brain capacity is the same. Your brain capacity is sometimes like a pickup truck. If you have good sleep, you can use the whole capacity of your brain. And sometimes it's like a bicycle. If lots of part of your brain are so overwhelmed that you can use only a limited amount of your brain capacity. Now, but you mentioned something about the sleep deprivation. How much sleep do we need? Amanda, how much do you sleep a night?
Well, I think I sleep like 8 hours.
Okay, that is average actually. 7 to 8 hours is the average sleep for human your age group. What about you, Alyssa? How long?
Yeah, I get about 8 hours too.
8 hours. Now, some people need less, some people need more. How is it? A younger versus older people? Who need more sleep?
Younger?
Well, babies need a lot of sleep.
Younger, because they're developing and there's so much going on.
I think it's like
a bell curve. You're probably right.
No, it is not.
The opposite of a bell curve? Well, I don't know.
No, it's not the opposite of the bell curve. Children need more sleep.
Okay.
But the amount of the sleep you actually need, not the amount of sleep you get, but the amount of the sleep you actually need physiologically just reduces with the age continuously.
Even like elderly people? Because
yes, even the elderly. Have you heard how many elderly are taking sleeping pill because they cannot sleep?
They're taking sleeping pills because they're sleeping during the day.
My grandma can't sleep at night. My grandma's neighbors go to bed at like 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you now, let's come back to that in a second, because that is relevant. You see what we are doing? We are just doing the Aristotelian kind of dissection of sleep. We look at our surrounding on the reality of what is out there and try to deduct, but we have done a lot of research on sleep as well. This is what we are talking about, is truly there is a science of sleep. There are sleep labs. There are research on that and so on.
My friend was gonna do a sleep lab, actually. She signed up for it.
Yeah. So in a sleep lab, you go there, they put electrodes on you, they monitor your breathing, your brain activity, and the phases and so on. And that is very important because we can put electrodes on the scalp and control your brain activity based on certain phases of how the waves in your brain look like. We can monitor how your brain is actually working when you're sleeping. I'm not going to details of that, but practically when you are awake, everything is like up and down. Everything is, because there are so many different areas of the brain work independently. When we go further down in our awareness and alertness, our brain becomes synchronized. And we give them names. We give them alpha, beta, theta, this Greek alphabet kind of names and so on. And based on those things, we have divided sleep in multiple phases. And I'm sure you both are aware of those sleep phases. What are they?
For the most part. I mean, the one I'm most familiar with is REM.
Yeah,
REM
I
sleeping,
think that's what everyone thinks about right away.
But
Well,
it happens before
There's
REM.
phase one with like the smaller waves, right? And
Well,
then the waves get bigger as the phases go on.
Well, it become more synchronized. I mean, more synchrony in the brain, meaning that the brain is not working independently, meaning the brain is becoming unison, working unison. That's deeper sleep. Now, have you had sometimes that same person, you call them, they wake up, and sometimes you have to violently shake them for them to wake up? Same person.
I don't think I have.
I don't really wake people up often.
Oh, Jesus.
I have no need.
I'm a neurosurgeon, so
I guess I've had several people. I'm a light sleeper, so I wake up to everything. And I've had several people who do not wake up to anything, and I have to wake up and turn their alarms off.
Oh my God, that would piss me off.
You have no
so
idea.
bad.
You have no idea.
I hate other people's alarms.
You know me too. So
Yeah.
So the sleep phases are called stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the REM sleep, 5 stages. The important thing about the sleep phases is that all the way up to stage 4, we go all the way down, our brain become more synchronized and deeper in the sleep. You have to give them more stimuli to wake them up. Like in stage 1, I can say, Amanda, you wake up. In stage 4, I have to take your shoulder and shake you violently.
So what stage am I in when I don't know I'm asleep and suddenly I'm falling and I snap
that's
awake?
right before REM, isn't it?
Because I do that often and I hate it. I want to
sucks.
fix it.
I don't know if that's related to a special phase, but probably stage 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Because there is something called sleep paralysis.
Mhm.
That is this, when you get the sleep paralysis, that is when literally you have that phase that you feel you're falling because you're losing all. Have you ever woken up and all of a sudden you are awake, but you cannot move your muscles?
I haven't, but I had a roommate who had that every morning.
A lot of people think that's a demon like holding you down.
It might be. I don't know. But you're making me, go from.
I've never heard that.
Okay, but you are making me now go from one subject to another. Let's stick with the phases of sleep.
Okay.
Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and then REM sleep. And REM sleep stand for?
Rapid eye movement.
Where your eyes go back and forth like crazy. Not your head, just the eyes.
You can't see on camera. I had to make it.
Have you seen ever your dog sleeping and then all of a sudden they start doing as if they were walking or running? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That usually happens either in stage 4 or in REM sleep. That's when it happens because the brain actually telling them what to do and the body is trying to do that. And in human, most of the time when that happens, our brain actually paralyzes our muscles so we don't act on our dreams.
Some people don't have that sleep paralysis and they can be really dangerous to themselves.
Sleepwalking, yeah, sometimes it can happen. And
But some people actually never become paralyzed when they're sleeping, and they can be
violent. They can be violent, that they jump and then they hit something and so on. And some people, when they're dreaming, they're going on the street on a bike ride, they actually do it because the brain forgot to paralyze them for what we call sleep paralysis, so they don't act on their dream. Now, but I think what is important here is to know that they are dreaming, and the body is trying to do what they are dreaming, even though from outside world they shouldn't be doing that. Meaning, usually, if you ride a bike, you get all the stimuli, and then you act on it. And these people seems to be, even some of them, they can really do complex tasks and so on, but they are not aware. This is all in their dream. So that's an amazing thing by itself.
How about sleep eating? I have heard of several people that said they'll wake up, eat something, and they'll go to bed and they'll wake up with wrappers on their bed, and they don't have recollection.
I do that all the time. I hate it.
Is that similar to sleepwalking? Like you're walking, you're physically moving, you're getting up and doing that, and you have no idea. This is digestion, though. This is, to me, this is a little different than physical movement. Yeah. So I'm just curious.
Possible. I don't know. It's possible. But let's talk about the stage of dream one more time.
Okay.
So, let's put the things that we know for sure together. All living things go through a phase that you could call it sleep. All vertebrate, all mammals especially, it's something that we call sleep, and it comes in patterns. People dream. Some people act on their dream. We know that everybody needs sleep, and we know that young children need more sleep than when you get older. And we know that if you deprive people of their sleep, they lose ability to identify the practically outside stimuli from inside stimuli, that something they dream becomes real for them, and vice versa. They don't distinguish. Now, one of the things we found out about that, have you done an all-nighter to learn for the exam next day?
I haven't, because I cannot function if I do that.
Yeah, I haven't done that either, because I actually learned if you want to study, you should wake up earlier instead.
No, I was a night studier, but I definitely knew I would have been better off winging it with the full night of sleep, being able to read through questions, than barging all that information in and not being able to ration it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you guys know that we have two kinds of memories. We have short-time memories and long-time memories. There is no question that we need sleep to encode short-time memory in long-term memory. So you can pull out all-nighter to learn for the exam next day, but you can be assured none of that will stick the week after that, and you will overload your short-time memory, and people are surprised how small actually our short-time memory is. So this is a fact, we need to sleep to encode long-term memory in short-term memory in long-term memory, to be able to keep it. And that happens in our hippocampus, which is a very small area of the brain in the temporal horn, in the here deeper about here. And all indication is that happens in the fourth stage of sleep. That in the fourth stage of sleep, when we practically turn the rest of our brain off, our short-term memory that is scattered all over multiple places in our brain, they go to hippocampus, and they get encoded in the long-term memory as well across most of our brain, but then they become permanent. So, it is a good indication as well that in the REM sleep, our body is work like a simulation device. It takes those information that we have, especially recently gathered, it sees how it's working with the previous memories that we have. Like, have you ever, played chess?
Mhm.
You have? So
Play chess.
at certain point when you are play a lot of chess, you dream of chess. You dream of the movements. If you learn something in the night, your brain is taking the information you got, make it a long-term memory, and then simulate what happens if you do this, what happens if you do that, and so on and so forth. That happens all the time. In
I
every
get that
brain.
all the time, literally all the time. But that should be no surprise because Amanda knows that I think nonstop. So it's not surprising that my brain does that at night.
Do you dream about work?
I don't remember most of my dreams, but
Good.
what Hamid or Dr. Bassi had
Mhm.
described was when you learn new things or you pick up new things. I do that. I will have dreams about going through the skills, going through the motions,
Mhm.
Why? I guess he knows, but to me, it's kind of annoying. I go, shut off.
Yeah.
So this process of, encoding the short-term memory and long-term memory, that is as well part of our dream. As a matter of fact, if you wake up people in any of the stage of the sleep, they can tell you they were dreaming, but in a REM sleep phase, where we are literally simulating our new knowledge, combining it with the old knowledge and trying them out like a simulation device, in that we are able to wake up much faster, much easier. And that is why we mostly remember the dreams that we have in our REM sleep.
What about dreaming about something that you're fearing or having anxiety for? Why do you dream about that?
Because if it's something important for you to be fearful about, your brain wants to combine it. You want to work around it. You want to combine your old memory with how you can avoid that. So that becomes a part of your survival. That's what the simulation is. You have a flight simulator so you don't crash the real airplane. But what people notice a lot, that observation is very widely accepted, that most of the people feel that they dream early in the morning or remember those dreams that are toward the end of their sleep phase. Why is that?
I mean, I'd agree.
Is it because it's the most recent thing?
Right.
No, actually, it's actually much more simpler than that. You see, you remember we talked about the phases of sleep?
Yep.
Every 45 minutes, you go through those phases.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, REM. And then you start it all over again. What we know from sleep studies is that at the beginning, you have lots of stage 1, 2, 3, lots of stage 4, a little REM. Then as this repeats, you have stage 1 and other stage shorten, but the REM sleep becomes longer. And again, REM sleep. So you start, imagine I come and give you lots of stuff. I throw them all in your floor in your house, Amanda. And these are short-term memory. You need to sort them out. So, but you have other things to do. So what do? You start sorting some of them, spend a lot of time to sort those material stuff that I throw in your floor. And then you have to do something else because your brain, that's how our brain works. But toward the morning, everything is already almost sorted. And then you spend more time to make sense of things you have sorted, like, what is it? At the beginning, you're just shoving things around and making sure they are there. But at the end of the REM sleep, you take it out, comparing to something else you have, and you run a simulation, and your brain trying to find out how this new information is useful to you. That's amazing by itself.
I've heard that a lot of times if you wake up and then you go back to sleep, you're more likely to have a dream because you're more likely to start at a deeper phase of sleep. Is that true?
I don't know exactly about that, but I know that if through an external stimuli or something, you wake up, it's likely that you can just go faster through those phases of sleep and go to where you were before you woke up. Okay, so that your brain needs to go through those phases, and if I interrupt that, it want to catch up with those rhythmic kind of thing. Now, in the REM sleep is I think in that is where you practically use the old knowledge that you had before with the new knowledge you just gathered and combine them to find out their usefulness to you. And it's amazing that lots of people have made tremendous discoveries during their sleep. Have you heard of lots of scientists and discoverers that, they couldn't fix the problem, and all of a sudden in the sleep, it comes to them, they solve it, they wake up, and then they go write it down and so on. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot more with like artists and rappers that they wake up and they had some sort of, line or sound and they'll write it down and go back to sleep.
I've heard that it's kind of like the saying sleeping on it, or like when you sleep on something, it's because you allow yourself to actually not consciously think about it. So you're not thinking about solutions. It's kind of in the back of your head. And that's why it's a good idea to sleep on something. And also if you're upset, there's the saying, don't go to bed angry, where maybe that isn't a good idea. And you can go to bed angry because then you can process your emotions a little bit longer. That's what I've heard.
This phenomenon is mostly known by programmers and chess players that, they don't find a solution for a problem. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm a programmer, I'm trying to solve an algorithmic problem and just try, nothing works. I go to bed, boom, that is, and I wake up and I go back and put that code in, and all of a sudden everything works beautifully. I mean, our brain at the end of the day is like a computer. And it runs a simulation in the REM sleep, it runs a simulation about information and how they can be useful to us. One of the things is important, you remember we talked about these rhythmic phases of stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and REM sleep. The part that we need to survive, we live, is stage 4.
Okay.
Because that's where most of the recovery happens, right? When your body can do a lot of its processes.
Good deduction, yeah. We must assume, because that is the vital part to our thing. And our body always catches up stage 4 sleep, meaning that you cannot have more stage 4 now. So if you're next week, you're not going to sleep. But if you don't get enough sleep this week, next week, your body will catch up with stage 4. It has to. It's survival matter for us. Okay. You have to have that to be able to function, your brain to function. Surprisingly, the other phases, including REM sleep, is not as, it's important, but not as important as stage 4. And that is as well in why the deepest sleep, and that's what it is, stage 4, the deepest sleep is, that is when if you catch the same person in the stage 1 or 2, you just call their name, they wake up. In the stage 4, you have to be violently giving them stimuli for them to wake up.
What happens if your REM sleep, your stage 4 is interrupted?
REM sleep and stage 4 are different stages. REM sleep is after stage 4. And if, again, in the stage 4, you have to give a person lots of stimuli and they will catch up with that. In REM sleep, sometimes it is that in REM sleep, especially toward the early morning, where you don't really need more stage 4 and 3 and so on. It's mostly in the morning, it's mostly REM sleep. And that is why when people wake up in the morning, go back to bed, they keep dreaming the same dream they had before. They just pick up where they were, because they don't have to go really through those phases. Again, the REM sleep is for us is a luxury, where we combine old and new information and find out how we can solve problems, how we can how the old and new information fit together the best. So, and if you interrupt it, you may have a cranky person, but we still should be all right. Okay, but stage 4 is the part of the sleep that is truly crucial for survival and function.
I have an app that like listens to your breathing while you're sleeping, and then it tracks which stage you're in, so it can wake you up kind of like more towards the end of your stage of sleep, and you wake up better.
Yeah, I think we have, I mean, obviously the best way to find out those stages is actually electrode on your brain. And certainly our sleep patterns do change, but to my best knowledge, the most reliable way of understanding what stage you are, like when you go to a sleep lab, they put the electrode on your head.
Yeah, too bad not all of us have electrodes at home that we can just put on our heads.
No, but sleep pattern does change, but it's not as reliable, obviously, as the EEG.
Mm-hmm.
You send the sleep, so it is actually like considering 1/3 of our life, we live like what? Let's say, if you are very lucky, somewhere between 80 and 100 years. We sleep, we are unconscious 1/3 of that time.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most beautiful part of our lives, though. Isn't that crazy that when our sleeps is the most desirable, the most pleasant part of our lives?
Really? You think that's your favorite part of your life?
Try not to sleep 2 days and come back and talk to me.
Yeah, but like I'm excited. I actually like staying up, and like I look forward to my days. So usually when I'm going to bed, I'm excited to wake up.
But at the end of the day, you are really looking forward to go back to bed.
True.
It is
This is actually, it's a conversation Alyssa and I were having earlier about napping. Alyssa loves naps.
I love sleep.
She loves sleep.
There
And
you are. I'm with you on that. That's the most pleasant part of it.
Exactly. See, and that's the big difference between Amanda and, well, not the big difference, but
One
like
of them,
if
yeah.
we were to leave today at 1 o'clock to go home, my first thought is, oh my gosh, 1 o'clock, I can get a nap in. Like I'm gonna get a nice old snooze and I'm gonna be happy, go lucky. And Amanda goes, I have 3 extra hours in my day. What can I throw in there? And that's what she enjoys. She enjoys living
Yeah.
life. And sometimes to me, that hour and a half is what I live for. I love that.
Let's talk about the concept of the power nap,
Sure.
because I think that is what you're referring to.
No,
Well, no, she's not. She's talking about
I
like
don't.
a 2-hour nap.
I don't power nap. I don't wake up. I sleep for multiple hours. My body wakes up and then I'm happy.
I cannot power nap. If I took a power nap, I would wake up with a headache, groggy, more tired, like just in a bad mood.
Okay.
If you wake me up 20 minutes into my nap, I promise you will not want to be around.
This is more history than science, but throughout human life, we never had one time nap, one time sleep in the night. We had 2 or 3 phases of sleep, or so-called biphasic. At least we know from lots of folks, lots of studies. Again, this is not science. This is more history. So I cannot back it up with a study or something. But throughout the history, people go to bed as soon as it was dark. They woke up sometimes in the morning, early morning, and then they had few hours of awakeness and then went back to bed again. And there's a good indication that actually in lots of places where it's really, really hot, like in the Middle East and so on, the sleep was 2 phases, one in the afternoon, one in the night, or sometimes one in the afternoon, and then those 2 phases in the night. The idea that we sleep now 8 hours and then we go 16 hours without is a new invention, actually. So you're not unusual at all, Alyssa. Okay, if anything, Amanda's behavior is a modern kind of behavior and unusual in a way that we put our children to bed in the afternoon, don't we?
Naps. Yep.
Because that is healthy, that is good for them. Now, the concept of the power nap came from our need for that middle of the day kind of recovery. You remember, your body's recovering, your body taking the information, encoding it, and so on. And you remember, I just throw it out there that our short-term memory is not that big. As a matter of fact, our short-term memory is ridiculously small. So isn't it better that you have that 2 hours afternoon nap and then absorb the information, then our short-term memory is free for new experiences and so on? That is physiologic. Now, having said that, that's just not possible for everybody. That the concept of the power naps comes from that you put you train yourself to go jump directly to stage 4, and you skip the REM, and you wake up, and that gives you a boost of energy for the rest of the day, and it works. And if you are going to do that, I would recommend to you, and see, we are master of manipulating our body. Like, look at your earrings, look at your eyeliners, and so on. Nature didn't give you that, okay?
What?
Nature did not give you
This
eyeliner.
is natural.
She grew those earrings.
And these lashes last night, actually.
yeah, she grew them last night in her sleep.
But you do that because you understand the effect of that on the environment. We invent things. Now, let me tell you something you can invent to get the best thing out of the power nap. You take a Diet Coke or a cup of coffee, then you go to take a power nap. By the time you wake up, not only you have had I'm talking about 20 minutes, okay, 30-minute max, 15 to 30 minutes.
We
So,
talked about this last week.
yeah, but by the time you wake up, the effect of the caffeine is in you, then you get a double kind of energy, and then you are going to be very, very productive. So if physiologically, yes, get a 2 hours afternoon nap and a 6 hours evening sleep, and so on and so forth, that gives you the most productivity. And for that reason, in some places, some companies, they put some pods for the people to get a small little nap, power nap, in the middle of the day.
Google does
They
that.
know, yeah, because they know people are way more productive if they do that. And you remember again, we came back to that, Amanda, you were saying that you're groggy, your brain doesn't work, you're emotional, you're this and that, and so on, because your system is overwhelmed. If you don't get sleep, your short-term memory, your system is overwhelmed, and you're trying to free up resources to function.
Well, not only that, but I get major anxiety and regret because I feel like I just wasted my day. I could have been doing something that I enjoy doing. Like I could have been painting, taking a walk, hanging out with my chickens, but instead I was sleeping.
And it's just like, I find it almost comical, that she has that output. Whereas like, I just know how I function. And if I'm tired, I know that I could go for a walk, or I could, go play with my chickens, do all this stuff. I wouldn't be enjoying myself. I would be irritable, I just wouldn't be all there. Like, I just know that. And I know that if I were to take an hour, go to sleep, wake up, I would get more out of my walk. I would, and I don't feel the lazy. I feel like, I did this for me. I'm refreshed. Okay, now let's go.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Let's do a little fun facts. How do your chickens sleep, Amanda?
They sleep very lightly. They cuddle together on like a small thing, like they somehow balance. They don't sleep on anything flat, and they like grasp onto something with their feet.
Yeah, they sleep like on a branch, like.
Yeah.
And aren't you surprised they don't fall?
I'm surprised they don't fall because they're pretty big and bulky. I've always thought that they don't actually sleep that well, because every time I go out there, I can hear them before I get there. So I know that they're talking to each other, and I always hear it. I never hear them being silent.
Okay, well, they're taking power naps all the time. Their sleeping phase is very short, and they're sleeping, when their brain is sleeping, the rest of the spinal cord controlled most of their muscles and so on, so they don't fall. Because in nature, you're on a tree, on the ground, there's a fox, is going to eat you. So the nature adapted to that. They get their sleep in the shorter phases, and without disconnecting with disconnecting the brain from the rest of the body, and their spinal cord actually control most of the motor activity. There was this rooster in 1920s. The farmer want to eat chicken. Take the rooster, cut the head off, but cut the head exactly above a certain point, and the rooster stands up, goes around, walks around, try to with the feet to do everything that a chicken or a rooster does. And that rooster was an attraction for many, many years. Then the farmer understood he can make money with this headless rooster. It was even a big deal that in 20s, the headless rooster, he would feed that rooster, which didn't have a head anymore, in the esophagus with a syringe, keep it alive. That rooster would do anything a normal rooster would do, including, the jumping on chickens and so on.
Yeah, I think that's why when they slaughter chickens, they actually put them in a special thing, because I think I read chicken head. Once you take off the head of a chicken, it can actually run around for at least 3 seconds.
Well, and especially if you cut the head at a certain point that the spinal cord is not disconnected, then they can function still. So you see, that's why your chicken can sleep on a branch. They don't need the brain for that. Most of that is a spinal cord function.
Yeah.
How do your cat and dog sleep?
They sleep a lot. They sleep with me at nighttime, but they also sleep during the day.
So, and as well, that's why I'm getting at most of animal world, we don't have a 8 hours phase of sleep. We have shorter, much shorter, more frequent, and that seems to be a physiologic to our body. So, Alyssa, you're on the right path.
Yeah, but
I'm on the right path, but I worked at a nursing home for a while, and they, when you get older, you just you can sleep whenever you want. I think it's like we just kind of get out of the stereotype of you are supposed to be awake from this time to this time, and you're supposed to be asleep from this time to this time. But then you see, Chimmy and Lily, they can do whatever they want when they want. They could be sleeping right now, or they could be awake.
Yeah.
But so could my grandma.
But I mean,
for
not
example, she could sleep all day if she wanted to and be up all night.
Yeah, but not to kill the happiness. Have you ever considered they're not sleeping because they're tired? They're sleeping because they're bored or they're depressed. Because I know a lot of times if you're depressed, you sleep a lot. Yeah. And if you're bored, you want to sleep. And that's my theory about why people say dogs sleep 80% of the day. Well, yeah, what else is it going to do? You have it in a kennel. Like, it can't do anything. So of course it's going to sleep.
Well, and as well, you're on the right path, because we know physiologically when you get older, you have less stuff to encode, you learn less, your brain volume is less. So, and we know physiologically you need less sleep. Doesn't mean you sleep less, you need less sleep. Mm-hmm. Whereas a baby, every information is a new information for a baby. So they need a lot of sleep to develop their brain. They encode every memory, like 90% of what I see right now here is not new information. I have seen these computers, we have done this before and so on. There's very few things here that I need to encode new in my brain. Whereas for a baby, everything, the dog, the cat, the light, the noise, the sound, everything is new. That is why they need a baby sleep 20 hours of the first few months a day. And even through the first few years of the life, more than half of the time they have to sleep, because again, stage 4, where we encode information in our brain, which makes our brain. That is an information gathering and processing kind of machine. So it is 104. I thought it was interesting. It's a magical thing. Sleep is a magical thing.
I think we could probably dive into sleep a lot more, because in general, dreams is a whole separate side of things, and deja vu coming, the brain is crazy.
Yeah, neuroanatomy. We should do please, Alyssa, set up to us to do a neuroanatomy, meaning that we dissect the brain. I mean, I'm not sure if I can get an actual brain for us.
I bet you can.
I bet you could.
How could you not?
This is it. Talk to Mike Hansen. Ask him to get us the actual brain or a head of a cadaver for us to do a neuroanatomy.
We should invite Neil if he wants to come and his team.
Maybe we can do it this summer while they're
yeah,
here.
we could do it
unless
for our
it's too
summer
late.
lab.
That's it. When they are coming, make sure if we can, if it's not cost prohibitive,
Mhm.
let's get the next cadaver that we get. Let's get cadaver with the head, and we use the head for neuroanatomy,
Mhm.
dissect it. But we have to get it in formaldehyde, fixed in formaldehyde, because a brain that's not fixed in formaldehyde, it becomes like a gooey.
Yeah.
I was
something.
gonna ask if like freezing it.
No.
No,
No,
no.
I didn't think so. I thought it would ruin me.
Okay, Neil, if you listen to us, you're going to have a head for neuroanatomy and dissection this summer.
Yeah.
And that would be the crown jewel of your visit with your group, that we open a head, we look at the anatomy, we identify the structures, and we make sense of it. Like, we know where most of our emotions are, or rage and so on.
Mhm.
We talked about the hippocampus, where the long-term memory becomes short-term memory becomes long-term memory.
Mhm.
We know where our coordination is. All of that has a physical substrate, it's a physical material in our brain.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that would be a good. That would be
I
a
think
good.
that would be awesome.
We call it neuroanatomy boot camp.
Yeah, cute. And then we can also do one on like right hemisphere, left hemisphere, creativity, logic, stuff like that.
Yeah.
If we're
Yeah,
gonna
we
have
can
it,
too.
we might as well go all out on
Mhm.
it. So
Okay.
Let's do it.
Well, this has been great. Amanda, you want to close it up?
Thanks for watching. This was Essence of Science. I'm Amanda Armagast.
I'm Melissa Haber.
I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence.
Have a good day, guys, and be safe.
Yeah, especially with this weather. Okay.
Yeah, get